There are many hazards present in a farm shop environment, depending on the tasks that are being completed. Potential injuries often involve the hands or the eyes and can include burns, cuts, and abrasions. Gord is a farmer in Alberta who's going to walk us through some common hazards that exist in a typical farm shop. In a formal hazard assessment, you want to complete the following steps. 1. Identify the job. 2. Identify the potential hazards. 3. Identify the controls that are in place or should be in place. And 4. Train and inform others about these hazards and controls. Now let's have Gord show us some of the typical hazards to be aware of in farm shops and controls that could be put in place to reduce the risk. A farm shop typically houses various chemicals that can pose a risk if there is exposure. From corrosive products and vehicle cleaners, to herbicides, to battery acid, it's important to have a system in place to properly store and manage chemicals.
So this is it's a Varsol parts washer. The Varsol sort of helps cut the oil and grease off things and allows us to kind of clean it up and assess what we need to fix on it.
Using personal protective equipment when handling chemicals is essential. But having a well-organized shop where chemicals can be stored out of main traffic areas is also important. From gasoline, vehicle oil, or other flammable chemicals, to sources of ignition such as grinders, there are many fire hazards that are present in a farm shop.
We do store a small amount of gas in here. We have it in a metal cabinet here, so it, sparks or whatever from welding or grinding aren't going to hopefully ignite.
Use safe work practices and keep sources of ignition away from stored flammables. Be sure to have multiple fire extinguishers on hand in various locations around the shop. In a farm shop, there are many instances where a worker must get underneath a vehicle or piece of equipment to service it. These vehicles are usually jacked up or elevated using ramps. This can be a serious crush or entanglement hazard should the equipment be accidentally started up or the ramp or brace give way.
Pretty common practice in a shop is to change oil. If we're underneath the truck working on it, we'd be on a creeper, of course wearing our safety equipment, safety glasses, gloves, coveralls. We've blocked the back wheel so that in a case where the park brake failed and the transmission brake failed, the idea behind blocking it is that the truck still couldn't roll down.
Use proper ramps rated for the equipment load and make sure to always have a spotter. Place blocks behind rear wheels, engage the park brake, and remove the keys from the ignition. Use a lockout tag to inform others not to start the equipment. There are many tools used in a farm shop that present a variety of different hazards should they not be used properly. From saws to grinders to drills to air compressors, it's important to use safe work practices when operating these types of tools.
Here we have a mounted bench grinder, so it's solid to the bench. It's not going to vibrate away as you're using it. We do have the manufacturer's safety guards in place. Something like this, obviously it's a handheld tool with a rotational hazard, so there's a danger of maybe putting it down and having it cut you or have the tool maybe rebound and cut you that way.
Be sure to always ensure that guards are in place on all tools and equipment, and always wear personal protective equipment. Farm shops can easily become cluttered and pose a serious risk for slips and trips.
In our whole shop, everything tries to have its own place, so we're not tripping over cords or hoses. We're always, tools should go back in the drawer they came out of, the drawers are labeled, that kind of thing.
Housekeeping within the farm shop is one of the most underlooked controls, particularly when it comes to slips and trips. In order to maintain a safe and effective workplace, make sure that everything has a designated place, all spills and leaks are cleaned up, and that the workspace is well lit and kept free of clutter. The final step in a hazard assessment is to train workers on the job, the hazards, and the controls. While many farmers feel that they know how to use a tool or piece of equipment safely, this is not always the case for a hired hand or family member. Proper education and training will ensure safe practices on the farm and in the shop.